In a world that's all about fleeting attractions and superficial swipes, what does it actually mean to truly know someone? Today, we're going to dive into a much deeper vision of romance, one that gets past all the temporary stuff and aims for a real, lasting connection. We'll be using some incredibly powerful poetry and scripture as our guide, so let's get into it. And this really is the central question, isn't it? When we're seeking intimacy, are we looking for genuine, lasting affection for another person, or are we just chasing a temporary effect, a quick feeling for ourselves? Honestly, the answer to that question defines the entire path of our relationships. It leads us to a pretty fundamental choice. And that choice is captured perfectly right here in our first section. It presents this fascinating, really stark contrast between two ways of approaching intimacy: to spill versus to mark. One is just an act of release. The other, well, the other is a profound act of creation.
Wow. The source material does not pull any punches describing this first path. It just calls it waste, an act that actually starves you of real affection, all for a cheap effect. It's not presented as a connection at all, but as this self-serving impulse. And that metaphor, an infection from kinetic vomiting, it's brutal, but it paints a powerful picture of an act that's just empty and purging instead of something fulfilling and life-giving.
This slide just lays it out so clearly. On the left, you've got spill. It's all linked to force and waste. It's an act of taking. But on the right, you have mark, which is all about trust and love. It's an act of giving and creating. This presents a really fundamental choice, especially for a man. Is your energy going to be one that takes or one that builds and nurtures? So what's the foundation for this whole creative act of marking? It's not about technique. It's not even just physical attraction. It's trust. The source calls it a knowing with mind, which is this deep intellectual and emotional confidence that you are fundamentally safe with this person and that they will honor and protect you.
So, to put it simply, to mark someone is to engage in an act so deeply rooted in trust that it leaves a meaningful, lasting impression on their soul. It's not just some physical act that's forgotten tomorrow. It's a creative connection that leaves behind a kind of spiritual signature. It's that feeling of being seen and deeply, deeply valued. And this idea of a creative, life-giving act, well, it connects directly to one of the oldest instructions for humanity. The call to be fruitful and multiply isn't just about biology. It hints at a much deeper purpose for intimacy, what the source calls a parallel fruitfulness of flesh and mind. It's an act designed to create more life, more love, and more connection in the world. Okay, this leads us right into our second section. If the first choice was all about how we act, this second one is all about how we see. This is the absolutely crucial difference between mere sight and true vision. The source gives us this incredible metaphor for superficiality. Some people are like mirrors. Their only function is to be seen, to have their own image reflected back at them. They never actually take in the person standing in front of them. And if you've ever been with someone like that, you know it makes you feel invisible. You feel like a surface, an object, but never a soul. And the author's response to that is so powerful and so personal. I refuse to be this way. It's a complete rejection of that vanity. It's embracing a deeper way of seeing, even if it makes you vulnerable. And really, it's a call for all of us to have the courage to refuse that easy, reflective path. And once you make that refusal, it forces you to ask much better questions when you look at people. Among the hundreds of faces you might see, are you just scanning the surface, or are you searching for what's actually worth a search? Are you trying to read the story, the history, the soul that's written in their face? And that's the real challenge, isn't it? It takes courage to be truly curious about another person, to want to search for what the poem calls the mysterious in the interior. It's an active, daring pursuit to see beyond what our eyes can find and to discover the real person within. So what happens when you combine an intimacy of trust, that idea of marking, with a perception of genuine curiosity, of vision? Well, you arrive at a pretty profound destination. You get to the peace of being known. And this just completely reframes the goal of a relationship. Our culture often frames it like a conquest, right? A game to be won. But in this vision, the real prize isn't victory. It's a shared, mutual peace. It's a quiet state of belonging that you build together brick by brick. This line right here is so unique and beautiful. The source says a shallow connection doesn't rest the lips of peace on the nose of being known. What a picture that paints. It suggests that true intimacy is like a gentle, peaceful kiss, a feeling of rest that can only come from the certainty that you are fully and completely seen, known, and accepted for who you are. This is that deep human longing we all have, finally being fulfilled. Ultimately, this is the destination we're all looking for, to be known. It means being cherished for more than just your appearance or your accomplishments. It's a spiritual and emotional recognition that finally allows your soul to just be at rest. And that brings a quiet, unshakable peace. So, this journey from spill to mark and from sight to vision, it leads us to one final powerful destination. It's that moment when a person is no longer just a person, but becomes a place. This slide just illustrates that final transformation so well. When a woman is cherished, when she is truly seen and honored, she becomes a masterpiece. Not an object to possess, but a work of art that's been entrusted to a man's care. And in that safety, she feels a mastery herself. For the man, his role totally shifts from a conqueror to a guardian, and he finds his own peace in becoming the one who cherishes and protects. You see, this mutual relationship, this dynamic of entrusting your soul to another and in turn being entrusted with theirs, this is what leads to the most profound and lasting expression of love. It's this incredible cycle of giving and receiving safety. And here it is, the final destination. When a man truly loves, he finds that the search is finally over. The longing finds its answer not in an act, but in a person who has become a place of belonging. He can finally say, "You are my home." This idea of finding a home in a person is echoed so powerfully in Scripture. The two becoming one flesh isn't just a physical union. It's the creation of a brand new entity, a new unit of belonging, a shared home for two souls, built right out of two separate lives. So we end where we began, but hopefully with a whole new perspective. What if our deepest desires aren't actually pointing us toward a fleeting moment of release? What if, all along, they've been a kind of homing signal, guiding us toward a lifetime of peace in a person we can finally call home? That is the art of being known. Thanks for joining me